Welcome back, everybody, to the Summer Comment House here at the Lookout, and this is the story of how we all became heroes on this episode. I'm, of course, if I was a My Hero character, who would I be? I'm gonna pick All Might. Fuck it, I'm All Might. I am here with LJ himself. LJ, if you were My Hero character, who would you be?
Shigaraki.
Wow. Okay.
No, I'll be. You already know who I'd be. I'll be Bakugo.
All right. Mind you, all right, just to give a heads up for everyone, this is a heavy manga spoilers thing, so if you have not read, if you're anime only, this is not for you. Just want to say that off the bat, because I was literally about to make a joke like, oh, wow, you're dead? Okay.
Oh, my God.
We have 80 here. 80, My Hero character. Who are you?
Probably Tokoyami.
Okay, I like that. All right. And of course we have here special guest to the pod. Someone who hasn't been on for a long time. Last time he was here, he was actually talking MHA. We were talking the UA Sports Festival arc, so you know how long we've came from that. He is someone who I feel like still only reads the manga, because I feel like I haven't heard you talk about anime ever. Bro, we have Skip from BK. What is up? Welcome to the pod. And who is your MHA character?
Mineta.
What's good? I'm Crybaby. I was gonna say Crybaby Deku. That's what it is, bro. Crybaby Deku, bro. And I'm actually gonna start watching the anime after we're done recording this. So now that I know
you're full of shit,
I'm so dead ass. Yo, now that the story's over, I can start watching this. I know how long it's gonna take for me to watch it. So as officially after we finish recording this, popping on episode 1, bro.
You're nuts, by the way. This is so... I don't know how I feel. How do I feel today? My Hero Academia is over, is how I feel. And I'm going to keep it a buck with you. This entire week has been a build up to be like, it's the last chapter. Guys, it's the last chapter. We leaking the last chapter. Everything's the last chapter. And I'm just like, fuck. It's like, it's done. Like, it's gone. Like, so that's how I feel. I don't know if you guys ever experienced your favorite manga, your favorite anime being over. I know, AD, you haven't. It might never happen.
That's gonna hit like hard. I'm gonna be just like you. I'm not gonna look at the last chapter for like the 2 months. I'm gonna see all the spoilers go by. I'm gonna see everybody mourning, and I'm just gonna be like, oh, that's great. Not happening though.
LJ, has your favorite manga finished yet?
Yeah, Demon Slayer.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, Demon Slayer was ending similar to this one, except they wrapped it up in probably like 1 chapter, where this was like 5. Skip, has your favorite manga ended yet?
Well, I wasn't reading it when it was active, but I guess Rave Master. That's why I have like the Haro Glory stand in our Discord, and also at that point, I love Naruto, so when it was over, of course, that ending, let's not talk about it, we're talking about My Hero, but it's like mentally adjusting to like something part of your routine not being there, so I think there's something that's kind of like, it's like weaning off of a drug, if that makes sense. Like, this is something that I've done, because, you know, Meelz, for people that don't know, Meelz is like an avid like runner. So he loves, like, you know, physical activity. So imagine like Meelz just doesn't talk about running. It's like, that's the gut wrenching feeling of not having My Hero not being part of our routine. That's how I feel. So I
feel like, I don't know. So we've watched many, since this podcast has started, we've watched many manga kind of end. Demon Slayer has ended. The Promised Neverland has ended. Haikyuu, which I was reading, ended. Dr. Stone ended. What else ended? Oh my god. Shit that never made it. Shit that just never, like Earthchild.
Food Wars, I think.
Food Wars is ended.
You know what I'm saying? Attack on Titan ended. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are like big things that have kind of like ended in like the manga anime thing. So now it's kind of like we're getting closer to like fully realizing like, yo, we might have to be ready for whatever the next generation of manga is and shonen. And I don't think we're ready for it. Could be the bug with you. I don't know if Kagurabachi is going to hold me over in the same way that My Hero or Demon Slayer or anything else has held me over for the last number of years. So I feel like, all right, let's maybe we get to that at the end. Kind of look at the landscape of where Shonen Jump is, because all our favorites are ending. A lot of things are ending. But I want to start out with this first question, and I'm gonna start off with we're gonna go with Skip first. I'm gonna start off with Skip. How did you feel about the ending to MHA?
I actually reread it before I hopped on with you guys. I feel like,
When you say reread it, what do you mean?
well, I read the spoilers that you didn't read, so I read that, and then I read the actual translation on the Shonen Jump app to see like, you know, words are slightly different here or there, but you know the message is the same. I don't know. I feel like the ending reminds me of Demon Slayer, except that I feel kind of more relief. I think what I was expecting from Demon Slayer is not his fault, and not talking about another series too much. Like how they handle their final boss, how like, you know, MHA was handling all these final bosses and situations and very pivotal topics that were happening in this whole villain versus hero society. I just think the ending when, you know, particular character talks to Deku and says,
You
"Hey,
can
here's
say
this
it,
gift."
bro. We can.
Oh,
We're at the end. It's done, bro.
I was
There's
trying to be nice.
Yeah, no,
Spoilers
you don't have
are
to. We don't
being
have to
said.
read every. It's yeah.
Yeah.
If you're here at this point, you see what it is. But feel free to just talk about it openly and explicitly as you want to, man.
All right, bet. So, like when All Might, or like the walking corpse that is All Might, gives Deku like the little suitcase. That, if I look at the number suitcase, I think it's 18, because I think All Might was using number 17 before. So it's kind of interesting because he's like the 9th user. This is his second chance at ability. So I thought that was a kind of like a very interesting Easter egg of like 18. So 9 times 2 is like, you know, 18, and him getting some type of variation.
What? Yo, your brain is crazy.
I was watching too many Marvel like videos on spoilers and stuff, so I was like, "Oh, that's a pretty interesting reason why they put 18 on there." But I could be tripping.
I feel you. That's funny though. Go on.
Yeah. So I think other than that, it was just, hey, time, like you talk about them, time skip. They show like where they are, where they're older with some pretty like good outfits, and then, you know, Deku gets some type of variation of One for All back. So I thought that was cool. I do kind of feel like I wish we get a sequel, you know, like I didn't really feel like I got to see them like handle like shit. Like I feel like when I rewatch it and like read it, this all happened in a fucking school year, you know, that's mad intense. Like even with Naruto, you saw them kind of escalate during different rankings, and like they got older by 3-4 years and other things happened. So I feel, I understand the story is done, but I feel unfulfilled, and I didn't get to see a lot of other people kind of like do some shit that I wish that they got to do, if that makes sense. Like I feel like we could have got another 200, 300 chapters if you wanted to like do like a little sequel post time skip type shit. That's how I feel.
That's crazy. I feel you. 80. What about you?
Oh man, about this ending, honestly, I feel very satisfied. Like I'm with Skip on that. Like I feel like there could have been a lot more and there could be the sequel, but I also at the same time can see them. It's not been announced yet, but I can see them doing something like, because of how much time has passed, like a movie after this current one where it's like an epilogue where after he lost his powers or whatever like that, there's another movie that comes out that takes place either a year after or during this 8-year, you know, gap or whatever. There's a lot of stuff that they could work with, because My Hero is a money train. Like there is potential there for all the time that they've left open. But as far as the ending is concerned, you know, I'm really satisfied with it. They tied up a lot of loose ends. You know, they left possibilities open for the future. So it's all in all just a really good and the thing I can kind of compare it to is when I first started My Hero, it reminded me of Assassination Classroom, and it kind of did the same thing where the main character ends up being the teacher for the next generation and everything. So it's kind of like that same parallel. And they even have a
like Yu-Gi-Oh.
along with it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but also Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm not getting on a tangent, but yes, I think they did. They did this very well.
LJ. Oh, wait, LJ's on mute. Hold on, LJ, you ready?
Hold on, nigga, man. Hey, niggas, I'll tell you.
Won't they? Won't they? So I'll give my take in terms of it. So I think regarding towards the end of it, I I feel like this is the first time in a while. I would say probably if I had to pick someone who did one of the endings best in terms of like how to wrap up an anime or wrap up a manga rather, I'd point to Haikyuu. I think the fact that it had its own like with these major battles that end up being kind of completed, it also ended up having like this really long kind of like final arc, not like long final arc, but like the epilogue, like the time skip. They're grown up. He's now playing like beach volleyball, and then he goes back and he like joins in like the American team or the Japanese team or something along those lines, and it kind of ends in that kind of way. That's how I felt sort of with this ending, and kind of like the extended way that it got. First of all, kind of like leading off from the battle itself. I know we're currently in it within the anime as we're going through it week by week. But the way they kind of like handle things and the things that we have to look forward to, I liked all of the stories that kind of got wrapped up, even with the heteromorphs, even with kind of Bakugo's arc, even with kind of how they handled Shigaraki, even though I felt like it could have been more. That would probably be my only critique, is like I wish they had more time. I feel like Horikoshi kind of wanted to wrap it up, didn't really want to leave it too long in the tooth, as it was already getting long in the tooth. I mean, I think he promised that it would end like a year ago, and it's really a year after now, and we're still kind of like parsing through this. But the final 5 chapters or so, I feel like really, or 7 chapters, was nice. It was a nice way to wrap it up. It was a nice way to kind of like show the impact, and I think that's what one thing Horikoshi always kind of does. He wanted to show the impact of like what hero society was before. If you look at it kind of like the first episode, the first chapter, and kind of like heroes are kind of everywhere, they're celebrities, they're doing everything, and now where it's like you don't even need powers to be a hero. You don't really even need like to really be anything to be a hero, and just save people. And I think that's what he stuck the landing in terms of like staying true to his mission, which was ultimately what's the definition of being a hero, and that's kind of like saving people. LJ, what's up?
Yeah, I think a lot of y'all hit a lot of the points that, I don't want to feel redundant in this conversation, but I think the ending was really special. I think that the one thing I thought about while I was reading this ending was how there was definitely a time in the series where I feel that a lot of fans were calling for a time skip. They're like, come on, like let's get a little bit more into the future. Let's see him grow. But at the end of this, I really appreciate that he didn't do it. I feel that the story ended in just such a well place where it's like it tied up all these loose ends. It felt cohesive. It felt that everything made sense. I love the fact that the final few chapters, especially after the battle, was a lot more focused on not just the restoration of heroes, but like the restoration of society, the restoration of like families, and like it brought it all together in a really special place. The final chapter was really nice to see. Now we get that little bit of time skip. We're like, okay, we see him in the future. Obviously, Midoriya goes into this teacher role. He sees all his friends, being heroes, and you get a little glimpse of them, and you see the kind of this new future that's being built. Especially now, they're like, hey, after that whole big battle, like crime's down. Like we really don't need heroes as much. And only the biggest and the baddest and the toughest can be heroes now because there isn't as much crime needed. And even then, at that end, they're still defining of like, well, what's really a hero? What's really, what really does that mean? But yeah, no, the ending, I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely one of the better ones. So yeah.
No, I think My Hero Academia is like a series just in general. I think it holds up better than probably people anticipate it to. I think usually, especially when you get to the season 4, where I'm talking about more so the Shie Saiki arc of the show, that's where a lot of people kind of like eventually fell off of it. I think it holds up better, and I think the reason why it holds up so strong is because it kind of like it's a lot about these moments that kind of like create these characters. And I think a lot of shonen now especially what people look forward to, or they look forward to the fights, they look forward to the gory moments, they look forward to kind of like the singular tropes that shonen has. You're gonna have the major death that builds up to this kind storm that's eventually going to lead up to your favorite character becoming overpowered, and then they defeat the big bad in kind of like this very big cataclysmic kind of way. And all that kind of happened here in a sense. But I feel like also it really took its time and really gave each character and gave these things moments. Like we were talking about it in our group chat just like a couple days ago. We were like, yo, think about it. If we had to create a top 20 moments for My Hero Academia, like,
I mean, shit, I'll say, if you're cutting it up in acts, in the first act alone, there's probably a good 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like, in the first act alone, there's probably a good 6 or 7 top 20 moments just there.
There's a lot that goes in this story. There's a lot that actually happens throughout the story. And even the things that like it and not all of it happens with the main character Deku, right? Like not all of it happens. A lot of it is like advancement of things. Like when you look at like, for instance, Endeavor's arc, and you see like Endeavor versus the high-end Nomu and kind of like how intense that battle actually was. Like that's a major moment for the series. That's like a moment that says like, okay, even with we lost our pillar, or we lost our like symbol of a peace, like it's not over yet, you know what I'm saying? And that's something that like really like brought up society in a bit, even post All Might kind of thing. Like there's so many moments that happen in this, and I feel like the general consensus of like people, I don't want to insult people, right?
Well, I in my mind, I kind of have an idea what you're saying.
I feel like people who don't enjoy this are not like. Is it weird to say like not mature readers?
No, I don't want to say mature readers.
I'm not saying mature in age.
They're looking for something that is technically there, but they're overlooking it in favor of other things to kind of. That's how I see it.
I see it. So let me explain. Before we go on, let me explain mature reading, right? Yeah. I'm not saying it like in terms of age of like, oh, I'm like more sophisticated. I'm saying in terms of taking the content for what it is and understanding it and showing and really taking in how they're delivering the story, as opposed to, like you said, AD, looking for something that you've seen in every other anime and hoping that they bring it to this story. You know what I'm saying? I think one of the things is why I enjoy this one is because I enjoy this kind of in a bubble in a sense. Now, is My Hero Academia a top 10 anime ever? Fuck no, right? But it does what it does very, very well. And I think people kind of like have... I feel like people, the bad rep it gets usually is because people are comparing it to other titles that are doing like, I guess, more extreme things. But I mean, even towards the end, like it got crazy. Like Deku lost both of his fucking arms. Like it didn't get more gory than that. The whole kid died in the middle of the thing, and he came back as a husk of a person. Like shit got crazy. But I don't know. That's just my take. What do you guys kind of like feel regarding like how people have read this series and kind of like the backlash that it kind of gets?
For me, it's like it's been being a weekly reader. Like we've all been at least weekly at some point with My Hero, whether it was in the beginning or like along the way after season 1. Like I came along after season 1 and I was like, you know what, I'm tapped in after this. And so one of the big moments for me that really like sucked me in was Bakugo being like, nah, I'm not a villain. Like I'm not joining y'all motherfuckers. Like that was a very big moment for me that solidified like,
because in any other anime he becomes like
exactly. And if you're following this shit week to week and seeing how angry he gets and like what is up with this kid,
if you see Sasuke, he becomes Sasuke, right? And
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like it'd be stuff like that. But the fact that he didn't do it and he became probably top 2 most well-developed, most well-rounded characters with a face turn kind of sort of at the end. You know what I'm saying? Like it does things that you would expect like any other anime to do, and it didn't do that. And it continued the shonen trope of like friendship, effort,
right,
working hard, trusting in others, and it followed all of those things to a T, man. And you can't really take away from My Hero when it comes to, like, you can just boil it down to, like, superhero shonen trope, and people like to, like, boil it down and gloss over the nuances of, like, all the different characters and what they are, setting out to do. Like, even a person like Mineta in the beginning, like, I don't want to use him like as a big example because he's sketchy, but he came a long way in the end, though. Like, even he got his moments, and he showed what it meant to be a hero. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
everybody got their moments. All the characters. I can't think of a bad character in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, not a bad character, not a character that didn't get any type of development. Even a small character during the worst arc, like Gentle. You know what I'm saying? It got decent development. It's so well rounded. You can't really take away from the in universe of My Hero and all of the characters in universe. It just excels at what it did for all of these different characters. So, I mean, for the backlash for those people, I'm like, it is what it is. But
I'm a big is what it is at this point. But nah, that's for real. Skip, what do you think about like the backlash towards it? Like, because you've claimed to be one of the big, like, defenders of My Hero, and I'm like, I don't know if he was always there. I'm not fully sure, but I don't know. Maybe I'm bugging.
No, I mean, there were times that we've argued that there were some lows in it, but I think what's hard about being a weekly reader and then you get that first chance to read the book the way it's supposed to be read.
Right.
Like, you were talking about Haikyuu, and I haven't read that in such a long time. So when I read it again, I was like, yo, it hits differently, right? Like, when you're reading something on a week-to-week basis, you're judging things so, like, harshly. Like, oh, I didn't understand why they did. But when you see, like, the whole story in, like, a binge, or you're reading it like the book is supposed to be, like, I come away with it differently. I feel like how I'm going to experience My Hero on the reread is going to be so different than weekly, when we were like, yo, why did they do this? Why did they do this? And I think because Deku is not the most endearing character, what I mean by that is because he's such an emotional crybaby that he literally cares about everyone, he doesn't really want to resort to violence. It's I remember talking to someone about how people feel about Tanjiro, and how he's really more masculine with his feelings of, like, crying for people. Like, he'll kill you, then he'll feel sad, right? And Deku, like, I don't really want to kill you, but he'd be crying before. It's like a very difficult thing where I think if, let's say, even though I don't know story-wise how it worked, if people just gravitated more to Bakugo's more assertiveness, more aggressiveness, and his ingenuity with his quirk, that I feel like if people just, like, loved Deku more, I feel like a lot of the critiques would be a little bit more understanding. Because I think for me as a story, you can't have nothing but nonstop chapters of like heat, right? You have to have some lulls to, like, exposition and bringing out other kind of like stories. So I think when we reread it, and I'll probably talk to you about it in like 2-3 months when I finish rereading it, I'm probably gonna come away with how I feel about My Hero even differently. But it was just you, me, and Sid, like, defending My Hero. The only few times I ever left you by yourself, because I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with this Dark Deku. But I feel like now I'm like, man, that first reread is gonna slap. I'm gonna view my emotions when it's like, all right, I understand what he was trying to tell with this story as one complete masterpiece.
And maybe it's because I've always reread it. Like, I've reread My Hero. It's fully done now. I can reread it in full. But I've reread it maybe like 12 times. Like, and the time I was like, all right, even when after a season ends, I'm like, all right, let me reread it and catch it. And I usually, like, fall in love. The last reread I had, I was like, oh, this is some amazing shit. I remember sending a voice note to LJ after I read it, and I was like, this is why I like My Hero, because blah 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 blah, shit that I won't get into. But I was like, this is like some amazing kind of real tough storytelling. LJ, what do you say about, like, how people generally feel about it, how it's, like, compared, how it kind of, like, lives in this kind of, like, era of anime?
Yeah, I think the hardest challenge that MHA has had is that it's the last of the workhorses. It's the last of the workhorses. We're not seeing 300, 400 plus chapters anymore. I don't believe so. Like, JJK might hit 300, but even then, that's
I hope the fuck
You know,
not.
like it might hit, but then also to think about it, that's another maybe 40 chapters that they would have to get to that point.
It's in its
Yeah,
final arc, so I really hope it doesn't.
Yeah,
hit
so like, I don't see Sakamoto doing it. Did Kaiju even hit 300?
Not
Nah,
even close.
nah,
But here's
not
the
even
other
close.
thing: like, you gotta also think about like the amount of manga material that is My Hero, like the team up missions, you know, the school briefs or whatever, the vigilantes. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, like My Hero. Once again, My Hero. It's a workhorse. You see it. They have been able to stretch their story out for this many chapters for a reason too, though. And I think though, just like now, how people are consuming manga, how people are consuming stories, there is a lot of things in My Hero that you really had to, you had to hit the lipo on it, let it play out. You have to really, you had to figure
Right.
it out.
Starring Strike.
Like you had
You know?
you had to let it play out to get the full context. And I think that how readers are now and how stories are written are now, a lot of people kind of want it more like just give it to me how as it is, like just give, like I don't want to let it play out. Just give me the outcome of this, or give me the reason for this now, so we can keep moving forward. Which I don't even feel is a bad way to even look at things either. I think it's just depending on the story that you like. Skip brought up another good point of, I think it's really hard for people to invest into a story when you're kind of iffy on the main character. Deku, you really have to like grow to love him. You really do, and I think though,
them first batch of episodes, first couple of chapters,
you really have to grow to learn,
tough.
to love him. And I think even throughout the story you do, and I think what Horikoshi has to also in turn, on the different side of the same coin, in turn, you have to give him praise because he's giving you enough side characters and enough fleshed out side character stories where you can fall in love with a Todoroki. You can fall in love with a Bakugo. You can fall in love with, all these other people because they actually do have their own stories going on that he does take the time to develop and we dive into. Like the legit Todoroki family is one huge portion of this.
Yeah. No, I feel. Sorry to cut you off. I feel like if Horikoshi is good at one thing, and he's good at multiple things, I think he's like probably one of the best artists in Shonen Jump.
No, for real. No, and you listen, man. There are some spreads in here where the level of detail and the level of like what the fuckness is crazy.
Yeah. Like it's crazy. But if I say one thing that he's done perfectly, that I could say he's probably done it better than any mangaka that I've ever read before. Maybe Oda, definitely. I would say Oda probably might be the king of this. Expanding the character base and giving everyone like moments. Like the society, usually the expansion between like season 1 of an anime and season 2 of an anime is how do we introduce more characters and how do we make our main characters even more impactful? How do we develop them so they get to another level? And usually it's like some tournament arc, right? And for instance, My Hero, this was the same fucking thing.
But also too, I think what's different is with a lot of other animes and mangas is that when they introduce these characters, they're more, I have a feeling that sometimes they're introduced for either a season or for a moment. And
they're like
go away.
They're like NPCs.
Yeah, like they get introduced. They may have a significant role to play for this arc, and then when this arc is done, they're gone with the arc. Listen, and there may be someone who comes and joins in, but I agree is that I think what Horikoshi has done with My Hero is he doesn't stop their story when the arc is finished. He's like, no, there's more to this person. There's more to this character. There's more role that there's more role that they play. I mean, shit, we saw, what's his name? Lost both of his arms. No,
Deku?
not the.
Oh, Endeavor?
Overhaul. Yeah, Overhaul. Yeah.
Oh, Overhaul.
He loses.
Overhaul.
I mean,
mad niggas lost arms in this now.
I know. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have lost arms in this. That's hilarious. But you know, we thought his story was done once he gets locked up, but now, you know, he comes back and he also plays this role where you're like, wow, like he really is trying to change. He even gives him a final moment where he sees the boss again and he gets to talk to him. And, you know, Horikoshi just done a really great job of just expanding this universe and character base to a point where I think the lack of love his main character gets is offset by the fact that a lot of other side characters have enough story and enough to them where it's like, okay, you can kind of have a favorite character here and have it mean something.
Right. No, first of all, you summed it up. Everybody summed this up pretty fucking well. No, it's definitely, I think what he's done with My Hero Academia is be able to build something that stays true to the story, but also build like this really expansive universe. And that's why people are like looking forward to it. So there's this big announcement that's supposed to come. Probably by the time this episode comes out, it will probably have come out. And people are hoping for a sequel. I have a pitch for a sequel. I'm gonna save that a little bit. I'm the pitch. I gotta read this pitch. I mean, I wish I wrote it out so I could actually flesh it out a little bit more, but I have my like main pitch of like what the sequel should actually fucking be. But there's so much stuff that feels like it could be done. I want to ask you guys, and I feel like I'll start first. What's something you felt like could have been expanded more in MHA? Because for me personally, I feel like the villain stories, I mean, with what My Villain Academia to me was like one of the most genius arcs. And it, because you don't get it. Once again,
it speaks to how he is stretching this universe. Like, you could have a favorite villain.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, he had a whole arc dedicated towards the development of the villains and not like in comparison to the heroes. You know what I'm saying? Like, these villains had to face other villains and they had to figure out who the biggest, baddest bitch of them all is. And they figured it out really soon. But I felt like what I would have loved to see more is kind of like, and I guess we got it in the Dark Deku arc, but I would have really loved to see them a little bit more in society with it, where they're looking very, very bleak. And kind of like how other characters, because it's like Deku and then like it's like Class 1A is kind of just like waiting in the wings. Like, what should we do? We got to wait for Deku to come back. And I felt like I would have loved it to see like other characters kind of like jump out and really solve their own things. Like if we really was expanding this like to 500, 600 chapters or so, which I think everyone would have, I don't know if they would have hated or whatever. But I would have just loved to see more from the villains and kind of like telling a little bit more of their story, even though we got like a cool few chapters of it. And I would have loved to see a little bit more of like new people introduced or like new villains introduced. Like, I would have loved to see like niggas go to Midnight's funeral because she got off midway through the story. And she just got a panel. It was like, all right, niggas dead, and here are 12 other niggas who are also dead. What would you love to see more from MHA?
I'll jump in real quick. I was thinking while you were saying all this thing. So My Hero is kind of like not a retelling, but like if Horikoshi was looking at like Marvel and DC, right? And if we're looking at a lot of these movies, obviously we're looking at it from the place of the hero. Yeah. But at some points, like, you know, even me watching like this new cartoon, My Adventures with Superman, is like you still get to kind of like be more in the villain shoes. And I feel like we did have Shigaraki with My Villains, but I feel like I wanted more villain perspective and more society perspective. I feel like when we're watching a lot of the Marvel movies, we're seeing all three vantage points. And I think we were so heavy on the stakes with the heroes, not seeing how it affects society. Like, what is it? I think it's like Age of Ultron, where they basically like nuked the city or something? And then like the following Avengers were like, well, you guys nuked the city. So like in Civil War, we're going to have to start registering you guys as like weapons of mass destruction because y'all could just kill us. Right. That's like society's influence on like the Marvel universe. I feel like society isn't always just reactive. Sometimes it does get proactive. So I feel like I wish we had that. Even what you said with Midnight and a lot of other deaths like Stars and Stripes, we don't grieve these things. I feel like when I reread it, I want to like that when people die in like other animes and other movies and superhero movies, you feel that death and you kind of like get to grieve. And I feel like in some introductions, because of how they write death or like removing people, we don't really get to feel sad. Like if we're,
Right.
since this is spoilers, like when Kakashi died in Naruto, I was committed to not reading that shit. Like I was like, you get the fuck out of here. You take the fucking silver hair sensei out of the picture. And it's like, we kind of like develop these bonds with these people. So when they die, we grieve alongside these fictional characters. And I feel like My Hero, especially with this whole women characters can never prevail and they get nuked. Like there's a lot of things where I just kind of like filled apprehensive of feeling things because I don't get to see like the villains stake outside of like all for one and like bits of Shigaraki. But I feel like we needed, like you said, more villains, more society, more impact, and more proactive society making decisions or trying to do something instead of just being like, well, the heroes and villains will just do shit and we'll just live or die by what they do, instead of like, let's nuke everybody, let's kill everything, let's have like an executive order of like fuck heroes, villains, vigilantes, everything. So yeah.
That would have been tough. I wouldn't have mind that. AD, do you have any thoughts on like what
A lot
could have been added?
that was one of my things, like, more from the villain side. But at least because it's still academia, a little bit more from the other students, not just in UA, but all the other schools in Japan, at least. We only got that one small arc, and then after the villains broke out, we saw a hint of that other school. I wish we could have had a little bit more of, the world building around the students in the academia space,
No, you're right, because they don't show up until the fucking end, and then it's like, and then they're gone.
Exactly.
Like they don't even stick around to the ending, to be real.
Like we could have definitely had that fleshed out a little bit more, besides the missing dads, that's another thing.
Literally the worst dad of all time. He has to be in that conversation though. It has to be.
But Deku's dad.
That nigga is on a milk carton, bro.
Deku's dad is not. Is he even like? He's like lightly mentioned in the story, right? Like, and that's the only thing that
he's mentioned 2 times, but
okay,
we know his name and we know the fact that he has a quirk. Like that's enough in this society. That nigga should have shown up at some point. And he's a fire breather, so we don't even know really how. Right. Like, we don't even know how strong he really is. Yeah, he could have been nice.
Like, here's the thing: if anything, like the next movie should be Deku's dad as a villain, and that's why he ain't showing up.
They ain't making no fucking movies that we want them to make.
I'm just saying, like half the movies are what ifs. Like we got what ifs.
I'm tired of that shit, bro. Man, I've been watching the movies.
I don't want no more My Hero movies. Nothing's ever gonna get past the first one. The first one was peak.
Yeah.
The first one was amazing. Yeah. After that, it was just a steady downhill trend.
LJ, what would you want to see? Was yours like Deku's dad?
Yeah, that was it. All I wanted was to see his dad. That was, I don't know. I think in the heat of reading this, right? While we were very much actively reading this, I think there were a lot of things that I wanted from it. There's definitely some times I was like,
you wanted niggas. You wanted more niggas to die. I remember
more niggas to die all the time. That's literally was my whole thing. Like, if there was more deaths, I would be okay.
Do you still feel that way, or do you feel like we got it in this? We did what he did, the damn thing. Like, how do you feel about that? Because at one point,
I didn't see Gran Torino in the 8-year. I didn't see him in the 8-year fast forward.
He's in the chapter. He's still alive.
Why is he still alive?
He's being helped by.
Gran Torino should be dead. There we go. That's what I want. That's what I want so bad.
He could have died better.
I want him to be dead. I want him to be tombstoned. But no,
the mere fact Shigaraki could probably kill Bakugo, but not Gran Torino.
It irks my soul. But no, I think that in the midst of reading this, while we're actively reading this, there were a lot of things that I wanted. I think there were some times where I felt like AD, where I was like, man, like I want to see more of the class. I want to see more of like what the school is like. Who are the other students in here? What are they doing?
Niggas hated the school.
Yeah.
Shit. I'm gonna keep it. Niggas hated any time where there was like. That's why I guess season 5 was so poorly done, because the first 12 episodes is them like in school, And according to the internet, everyone
But
hated.
that's
the
so
school
crazy
stuff.
to me because the school shit was one of my favorite parts. I think like the school shit was like that was the time I felt that they were able to develop in more ways than just a hero. Like I always kept in mind of the fact that these are freshmen. You know, these are freshmen coming
Right.
in. And as they're growing and becoming better heroes, like how are they developing as a person? Like they still have all these other little press. Like I don't know. I like the fact that they have these other things going on. I and like the fact that part is the part that most people hated is I'm like, what? I'm like, it's some of the best parts. The trainings.
I feel you because I feel like what the school parts usually did in the story, it was a lot more of a grounding thing that kind of reminded you that these are kids, right? Like because there's so many times in anime that one 15-year-old gotta save the entire world or save their entire village or be like this, and you don't even see them as kids much anymore. You kind of just see them as like protagonists, like characters, things. But I think one thing that the school did was really show people kind of like, okay, yeah, these are still kids with like problems, right? Like you look at, and this was, I remember talking about this when Skip was on last time. You look at, for instance, like Todoroki's thing. Like Todoroki had a messed up childhood, and the only reason why anything changed for him was because he went to school with these people. You know what I'm saying? That they really influenced him, that they really showed him all these things. Even through it, you learn about Ochako's struggles with her parents and stuff, and like, oh, we're poor and we have this whole thing and all this other stuff. I bet they aren't poor anymore. I don't know. But you learn these struggles from this and all these other stuff kind of going on with them. And I think that's what the school thing kind of did in terms of like what its role is. It's kind of like grounding. It's a little bit of development too. It's kind of like to take away a little bit from the action, because there's so much going on in this. I want to ask everybody, before I'm not even sure where we want to head after this, but favorite arc, favorite moment. Not, it doesn't have to be your favorite moment in the arc, but like favorite arc of My Hero and favorite moment. Should I start?
Favorite arc and favorite. I feel you already got yours loaded on the top of your head.
I actually don't, but I have plenty to spare.
I think favorite.
I'm trying to go through all the moments in my head.
I'm trying to think favorite arc. Give me a moment for that one. Favorite moment though. I don't even know if this is my favorite. It's definitely top 3. Is that initial All Might versus the Nomu?
Ooh, where he does the German
suplex? Like that was real graps.
Yeah,
real graps, baby.
No, that was a good fight. That was a good fight.
I think that was like the one that really set the. It was such the tone setter for me for My Hero.
There's so many moments. There's so many arcs. All right, so I'll say it. My favorite arc, I think in this, I want to say I think because the final war arc to me has been tremendous, and it still is tremendous. But the My Villain Academia thing, where and My Hero doesn't do this a lot, where other animes do this a lot, and we just talked about this with One Piece like a week and a half ago about how they'll like randomly cut into a story and give someone's backstory. The My Villain Academia arc, and when they went into Shigaraki's backstory and kind of like how he became a villain, was so peak to me. Like to me, I was like, oh, this is kind of like this is how you really establish a villain in his own right. Because I mean, just the whole family thing, it touched in, and then he elevated to the next level, and he was able to kind of like have his own breakthrough by remembering all these things that went on. I thought that was amazing, and probably my favorite moment. I got so many favorite moments. I have a new favorite moment towards the end of this thing. One of my new favorite moments is, and I'll talk about it a little bit later on, is All For One revealing he was behind all of the Shigaraki shit. I thought that was like, whoa. If y'all saved this, y'all kept this one in the tuck, but it's not surprising at all. But overall, my favorite moment, I watched it the other day. It's definitely Shigaraki. Not Shigaraki. It's Todoroki versus Deku. But it was like, it's your power, not his. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was really powerful shit. That's what it means to be like a hero in a sense. I think it really sums up this entire story of like, rather than Deku fighting this man to beat him, he's fighting to ultimately save him and kind of like from all the trauma that he's kind of been going through. Skip, do you have a favorite arc and favorite moment?
Yeah, I had to Google it, so because I don't be remembering arcs. I just be here. I think my favorite arc is the Endeavor Agency arc. That's when the kind of like the big three of Todoroki, Deku, and Bakugo were like training with Endeavor, right? Mm-hmm. I think that was really cool because it's like you've seen the elevation of these students getting a chance to see what it's like working with a top tier hero, and also understanding how smart Endeavor is outside of being a consistent dickhead. Yeah, asshole dickhead. Same thing. Because it's like, I just, sometimes you be thinking, oh, I just thought you were strong. But it's like, I think how he was able to give feedback to those three on how to properly use their powers. Because I'm always assuming that people can only teach people in their own specialty. Like if you are a flame user, you can only give advice to people that are flame users. But for him to be able to like analyze and just give feedback, I thought that was pretty cool.
There's a level of logic with like hero shit in this show that's not really done in other, like a level of time and like, here's how you do it, here's how you advance yourself, but here's how like also you get to the next level that they pay attention to in building. Whereas a lot of anime is like random anime bullshit, which is just like, you get a power up, here's a power up. You know what I'm saying? Right. Whereas, as you say, like they really like honed in on focusing how they could be stronger.
Yeah, and I think that's important because I think a lot of times when certain power-ups happen in a lot of our favorite or past favorite animes, like some of them will really detail how they got stronger. Like Dragon Ball Z, I feel like for me as I get older, it made me want to be in the gym or work on flexibility because like you always want to level up. Like, all right, if I want bigger mass, I don't want to get too big because I'll be like Trunks and then I'm not fast. So how do I balance my workout to do cardio, to do flexibility, to do strength? So favorite arc because of that. Favorite moment I would say is when they finally got to showcase the second vestige. Because we are always having like these weird ass theories about Bakugo coming from the future or past, and like how important it was for him to be like, all right, I just didn't turn my back to him because I didn't acknowledge this kid. And it's like, for like the wrestling fans, it's like you finally acknowledge Deku to like trust his plan of like trying to stop All For One. So I think just getting a lot more clarity within the one for all power scaling thing of like seeing all these individual abilities, how it comes together to be one for all, and like Deku being like the ninth and last user, and just how he's able to scale it once he kind of got access to like, I think that was like the last ability that he was supposed to get from.
It was.
So I think that was
showed in the anime, which is crazy.
Yeah, I'm picking a good time to start watching it now. But yeah, I think that's my favorite arc and favorite moment.
80. Well, LJ, you got your favorite thing?
My favorite arc probably got to be the Bakugo retrieval.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
Because that was going to be mine.
Just
all right.
Everything. That Bakugo retrieval arc. What? Grab my hand? Oh.
Listen, everything about that arc from start to finish, like...
You idiots!
What?
I love it.
Leading into...
is just, you're next. Yeah. You're next.
Yeah. Come on, man. It's All Might fighting All For One for quote unquote the last time at like whatever their full power is at that moment, and him just boxing it out. You know what I'm saying? All culminating into your next and everything that comes in from that. Come on, man.
Listen, it's tough. It's tough. So that's your favorite arc, AD. What's your favorite moment?
Oh yeah, the Bakugo grabbing the hand.
Oh. Like, it gives me the feels. Like it legitimately gives me the feels. It's like you can't help but like crack a smile or something like during it. Like it's done really well. Even the animation where he like is like cutting through the air. And
yeah, come on.
It's something that they don't really typically do in the show, anime wise. But they really lean for it. Before I get into my take of like how I feel like a sequel for this, kind of want to go one more question, maybe. Who was your MVP of MHA?
Big Bach.
Can I give a top 3?
Your own personal. It doesn't have to be like who do you think like Deku is the one who saved everybody and like of course yeah he changed society. I mean it could be if you want to, but who is your personal MVP of MHA?
Bakugo. Easily is Bakugo for me. Todoroki's a very like he has a very a strong argument too, but it's Bakugo.
But why Bakugo? If I
actually come back to me because another person just popped up.
I mean, you couldn't say 2 people.
Skip AD, come back to me for like 2 minutes.
All right,
it's like 5 people for me, man. I ain't gonna hold you. Like,
go ahead, man. I'm not the police. I'm not gonna stop you from having 5 MVPs. Nigga.
Listen, man, because it is Bakugo. Like, top, that's my dog. Great murder god explosion. Whatever the fuck, the long ass title, Dynamite. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Come on. But also, you got to give it to All Might. The progenitor of everything. He
didn't die. Like he had big.
He didn't die.
He had big fucking neon pointing death flags for the entire show.
He had on Aizawa. You know what I'm saying?
Aizawa also had major death flags.
He doesn't get enough credit.
Man, my brother chopped his own leg off like a real man.
Hey man, and couldn't really use his quirk.
A lot of shit could have like ended quickly if Aizawa wasn't there.
Nah, I agree.
Like Endeavor, of course, you know what I'm saying.
Endeavor got he has his redemption. He got what was coming to him at the end of the day as well. Like the mere fact that he's now crippled and cannot resume any more hero work, and now has to look at his fucking beef jerky son in a fucking tube until one of them dies.
And that was my other MVP was Dabi.
Dabi. Okay.
Listen, so obviously Bakugo, we know what he's done. I could talk all day about this, but Dabi was the motherfucker that like really pulled the threads and made society collapse.
No, he definitely did
and that. I feel that although Shigaraki was he was the big bad, he was the one that was going to, I think, physically destroy everybody and everything. I think on a mental level, Dabi was the one that was like, you really trust these heroes? You really think these heroes are here for you? You really think this? You really think Endeavor is this great guy? You really think, and I think for him, he was the one.
Stain low-key changed the series a little bit too. Stain low-key.
Yeah. Stain for sure. And I think even once again, man, I gotta Horikoshi.
The show was about saving for me for a long time until Stain showed up and is like, you guys aren't heroes. Y'all niggas just vain wannabes and stuff. I was looking at it, I was like, oh, okay. I get it now. I feel you.
Like, it's just, I think those two characters, once again, they added this extra layer of depth to the whole story in the whole series, where it was like, okay, it's not really just about heroes and villains and heroes saving the day and villains being the bad guys and they're doing bad things, they're blowing people up, and they really did this, like, once again, this psychological effect in playing of like what actually is a hero. You think these guys are heroes? You think these people are heroes? Like, no, they're assholes. They're horrible people behind closed doors. They only want this for the greed. They only want this for the fame. They really don't care about saving you. It just looks nice, like, it's that extra layer that added so much more to the story. It added so much more to the dynamics and the relationships that happened, because you started to see, like, man, after the first war, how many heroes dropped out after? They was like, man, shit. This is my real job. This is what I'm really supposed to do. I'm out.
Right. No.
And I think those two characters added that for this story. And I think like Shigaraki had his own personal story and actually, and had his own personal like mission. I think a lot of like the great things that he did for this story was also show the flip side of, y'all think villains are all these just bad guys, but he was like, these people are my friends. These people are people also that I care about, that have been shunned by society, that have been, you know, the people that y'all kick to the side, the people that y'all overlook constantly. And I've, you know, created a safe haven and a safe place for these people who y'all deem as villains, but I see them as still people just like the rest of us. Yeah, it's just the whole dynamics, man, of the heroes and the villains and the what really makes a hero and also what really is a villain. It was, oh my gosh, I can go on and on about it. It was great. It was amazing, and it just added so much to the story.
Skip, who's your MVP?
Yeah, I think I was listening to both LJ. I don't know if AD got to talk, but just you. And it's hard to say one person. So I was listening to all of y'all. I was thinking like my top 3 MVPs for the heroes and top 3 MVPs for the villains. So I think we could all agree that Bakugo is pretty much one of the most clutch. He's like motherfucking Steph Curry here with a lot of like he died, he came back to life. He's basically my hero, like Jesus. Yeah. He's basically my hero, Jesus.
Him saving All Might to me is one of the best arcs, kind of like really full circle kind of things that's ever happened. And him beating All for One, really being that one. Vegeta don't get shit like that either. So it's crazy.
At all.
Yeah, and that's just because of the writing. That's just because of the writing, because you know, they just love to make Vegeta like you just never win. So I think Bakugo is number 1. I think All Might's number 2, and I think Deku's number 3. Okay. I was kind of like thinking between Deku and Endeavor, but I think I didn't want to put the power of friendship as number 3, but I feel like Deku's influence on everyone else, starting off as someone that was a scrub that had no powers, to getting a power, to analyzing everyone else, to like, he be giving people quality notes. Like even in the last chapter when he's like telling this kid that could make dishes come out of his hair spots, and he's like, yo, this is how you can become a hero. It's like, yo, you just figured that out in 60 seconds? That's crazy. Like how does your brain work to do that? So I think those 3 had like such a tremendous impact on everyone else on the hero side. On the villains, I had to be like, damn, I think LJ is right with Dabi being like the most impactful villain because it humanizes the impact, right? So I think Shiggy and All for One, I put them at number 2, and I put Twice, and I think Twice is number 3 because he humanizes villains in such a way where, like when I think back after watching Deadpool, right, and I look at his outfit, it's very like Deadpoolian, like how his character is, when it's like he's like this goofy, lovable dude that he can like, you know, be like everyone else and just look like everyone else, just making clones of himself. Right. And in a way, he was in a way immortal, right? In a way, like you couldn't kill him unless you killed the prime version. Right. So, but
I mean, he definitely wasn't immortal for sure.
No. I didn't say he was, but he's pseudo immortal. Like, you know, like those clones. Like, man, I don't need to fight myself as long as the prime doesn't get killed. Right. I can quote unquote live along with my life expectancy. But I feel like once he dies, it kind of like made everyone on the villains kind of shift. It's like, damn, you killed our lovable fucking goof nigga. Like, we gotta kill you now. And it's like you humanize villains in such a way where a lot of times growing up, we're always like, you know, heroes good, villains bad. And as we're watching a lot of these movies and you get to understand people's backstories, like we're all like a step away from being like an anti-hero, a vigilante, or a villain, just based off of how we grew up or who was around us. So I think those 6 characters were very influential to how the story progressed from chapter 1, and of course whenever they were introduced to the end of the book. So that's what I would say.
I have a lot of MVPs. Part of me really wants to choose Bakugo and Deku. Another major part of me wants to choose All for One. I think by far, when you look at villains in modern anime, I think as someone, I think Horikoshi managed to really build him and not really leave any redeeming qualities about him, which is something that's very rare for villains. Because, you know, villains these days, they're like, oh, even the grandpa in Sakamoto days, he's a villain, but he's cool because he's fucking old and he's fire and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Or like,
got vintage Ralph on.
Yeah.
Where you get that tweed jacket from, bro?
Right. Or the villains just kind of like in other, even Kaiju number 8 or like all these other things. Like, I think All for One has no every time you think you were going to like kind of I like the cut of his jib. It's like, actually, he's the one. Listen, he killed the baby that glowed. The baby that's like a major part of the beginning of the series. He took essentially all the life force from his brother, which is why he's super strong and brolic and sexy, and his brother's weak and feeble and, you know, asexual. And he took he pretty much let out the steps for everything. He influenced what's my kid's name? Aoyama to really be the traitor, which really set everyone on the path to this. He put in the motion. He's the one who gave the quirk to Shigaraki for all of this really to begin. Like, he's fucked up, but there's no
story without him.
Yeah,
like, and I think Dabi as a kid too. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He stole Dabi as a kid. He stole. He wanted to steal Aizawa too. Like, he's willing to bring that up. He's willing to bring up so many different other things. He killed all these people. Like, he's someone who I think is a top tier villain.
I think it goes to what you're saying though, is that we look at a lot of, I mean, shit. Even looking at Dragon Ball Z, like Frieza has a redeeming moment.
Yeah, Frieza's hilarious.
Yeah, you know,
bro.
Like Frieza,
and he has like hero
you know, like
now.
Frieza has redeeming qualities to him. I'm trying to think of other.
He counted Black Frieza, and all there was memes of this nigga.
Yeah.
And all this other
shoot, you even go to something like Naruto. Like Obito has a redeeming factor to him. You know, where he's kind of just like, damn, you know, you look at his backstory, you look at some of the things he goes through, you're like, fuck, like I kind of understood why he took this path.
All for one's mom was a prostitute, and like he eventually took her quirk and all these other. He damn near killed her.
You know, it's just like with him, it's pure evil. He's just like, hey, from the beginning. And also too, it's not even pure evil. Where it's just like he's just a horrible guy. He's not stupid. Like, he's like a real mastermind. Where he's like, oh no, brother, I've been playing this chess game for years. Right. Y'all thought all this shit was by random. Y'all thought all this shit was by some, you know, crazy incident. Like, no, I've put all these pieces together. Every single one of them that you see around, I've put all these pieces. I've been pushing this agenda forward for so fucking long, under y'all's noses, that, you know, like even in that, I think what the final moment between him and All Might, when they do their final fight at full power, what makes that moment so great is that All For One is going to prison and he's not giving a fuck. He's like, oh, lock me. He was like, listen, I need the vacation time. He was like, I need the peace and quiet for a little bit because I'm gonna be out.
He's like, no, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like him and his level of villainy was on such a different level than we've seen. I'm like, he's in that argument of greatest villain of all time. Easily. He has a very strong argument.
I agree. Before we go, I want to share my Boruto. It's not gonna be Boruto, it's not gonna be whack. But I want to share my spinoff from My Hero Academia. First of all, before we get into that last chapter, really, really great. Everybody who's involved with it, I love to see everyone winning. I wish they would have released a new Billboard charts. I would have loved to see who's on top from Class 1A. I guess that's something that we kind of have to figure out much later after the fact, but you might figure it out in my sequel. I don't have a name for this, so it's not like My Hero Agency or anything.
Also, 8 years, he gave Ochako some grown woman weight. I was like,
he made her a joint for whatever.
I was like, God damn. I was like, when Ochako become Jamaican? I was like,
yeah.
She built crazy.
So my thing is, I wanted to play off of one of the things that wasn't really expanded on in this series, but something that probably needs way more attention than it should, and that's the Doomsday Quirk theory. Because even though the series is done, the Doomsday quirk theory is still very much so alive and well. Like it's going to fuck everything up. So my thing was there was going to be this kid who eventually comes up, and he has two quirks. He doesn't have half like fucking Todoroki. He legit has two quirks, and somehow he's managed to. He can live with two quirks, but he doesn't really know. It isn't told explicitly that he has two quirks outright. He thinks he has one quirk, and then the second quirk kind of like manifests, and he's unable to sure what's kind of how to kind of deal with it. But then also, we see villains emerging with multiple quirks. Again, not the Nomu ones. It's more people emerging with two quirks throughout this series. So he has to kind of like learn how to figure out. First of all, he has to master one quirk, and then he has to figure out how to master the next quirk. And then at some point, what did I have? I think I had one. It was just like the second quirk was dormant until he kind of has to like unleash it. Like it comes out in a way that's not really, he can't control it yet. It's like Ash and Charizard. Like he can't really control it yet. Like the shit goes crazy. It's like Deku and Black Flash initially. It kind of goes out of control. And I haven't really thought through the full ending yet of like how the arc was actually going to go or how the story was actually going to go. But I feel like the Quirks Doomsday theory is definitely something in My Hero Academia that needs to be expanded on. You can even still have Dr. Garaki, because I'm sure he's still alive because his quirk makes him still alive. Kind of like play the background in this. But he has to kind of navigate and kind of has to figure out how he's going to do two quirks and like how dangerous it is. And then he finds out later down the line that actually his life expectancy is lowered because he has more than one quirk. So it's like, how long does he actually have, and how can he save people in the time that he has? So that's kind of where I wanted to go with shout out to that. My thing, if you guys had a sequel, if there was a sequel from MHA, what do you kind of want to see expanded in it? Do you want the original characters back? Do you want new characters? You want it to be like Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, or you want it to be like fucking Boruto? Like, how do you guys want it?
Personally, I would like to see if I did that. I like that theory. I like that story. I'm not gonna lie. I would try to go along the lines of developing the world, because we know that the world is watching. We know that there are other heroes in the world. We know that America has heroes. So either before Star and Stripe or after Star and Stripe, how did they continue the American Hero Society?
I feel like they were definitely supposed to do something with that until he was like, all right, let me wrap this shit up.
Yeah.
What about you, LJ? Oh, yeah. Wait, keep going, 80.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, just expand a little bit more on that, because we know whatchamacallit is still over there. Koichi is over there. There are a lot of other heroes in the world, but because they lost their number one hero, who is going to step up to the plate? How is American Hero Society going to recover? Do they blame Japan? If they, after seeing the disaster that All For One created in Japan, how does the American society ramp up? What is the Hero Society?
They've lost their number one hero. You know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. LJ, what say you? What do you want to see in if there was a sequel? What would you want to see?
No sequel. I want Horikoshi to do a sports manga next, please.
Oh, okay.
Right. I want him to do a sports manga. We listen. I don't. Since Haikyuu left, there's just a gap. Blue Lock ain't it either. So
Blue Lock ain't it to me.
Yeah, Blue Lock ain't filling that sports gap. Aoashi's my shit, obviously, but you know it's not getting the love that Blue Lock getting, so I'm a hater. But no, I would love to.
Ain't there all the way.
I would love to see Horikoshi do a sports manga next, though. I think it would be great. I think that MHA has told such a great definitive story for me. I think Meelz, I think your idea is great. So to be honest, if there was any idea for me for a sequel, it would be what you said of real tapping in more into that doomsday, like what happens when a quirk so strong appears, like what the fuck do you do type thing. I think that Vigilantes gave us a really great prequel story So I think that I personally wouldn't want a sequel for this. I think end it here.
Okay.
If you end up doing a spinoff, it has to be something. It has to be something that doesn't feel like this. And I think the issue is that every sequel will end up feeling like this. It would, and
Right.
I would want something a little bit different. I think that's what makes great sequels great, is that it doesn't feel like the original source material that that you're spinning off.
Mm, okay. No, I feel that. I feel that. Skip, what say you? If there was a sequel, would you want a sequel? What would you want to see expanded on more?
Yeah, I was thinking because your Doomsday was pretty good, but I just don't want to be like everyone in the crowd because it's really good. I was thinking because I don't know from like a previous.
Mind you, I workshopped this idea for months and weeks. By the way, like I've
No,
thought about this for a long time.
Bro, I can hear the level of detail. So I'm gonna go a little against grain. Hypothetically speaking, if we had a sequel, right? I was thinking more like Digimon. I don't know who it was in the Lookout, if they were watching like the Try Adventures or like my favorite Digimon other than the first season was the second season. So when the
Same.
original Digidestin, like when they came in, it was just like we just here for vibes. But then you had the new kids that would use these same abilities that they inherited from the previous people, but they kind of remixed it. So you still had new bosses, but you still had proximity to the originals, but you kind of like I cared about the new kids. I did like other Digimon stories, but nothing connects to me as much as season 2, because season 1 obviously those are original, those are the OGs, we love them, but of a sequel within Digimon I enjoy that. So if we have like new heroes, what are the OGs teaching like their youngins, like if they have agencies, if they have things, and as we're kind of like starting to care about the new generation, what is their new battles? Kind of like
Right.
I know people don't really care about Boruto. I just read it for vibes. But like there's something interesting about looking at Naruto go to Boruto with technology and how like ninjutsu is dealing with all of these issues with now everyone can do like ninja attacks because of the technology. What would be the new issue if it's not villains with powers? Would it be like a technological thing? Would it be like a philosophy thing? Because we already had that with that revolutionary group, right? Like there's going to be a different type of battle, because if the villains are not the villains, there's going to be a new type of villain that comes up in the ashes. So, and I also don't want the sequel to be long, because I remember what I loved about Digimon, it was very concise with the episodes. Like we came in, fuck shit up, and then we left. Because I do love the concept of what LJ and AD were talking about with a sports manga. I do like the concept of Blue Lock, but LJ got me onto Ayashi. The problem is it's so irregular with the posting for the mangas that it's just like, bro, it should be number 1 because it's real football, right? I think Blue Lock just taps into everyone's ego of like how to like be a better pro tag, but I agree that Blue Lock should not be the standard for sports like animation, especially with soccer. But look, we got work to do to get Ayashi some more attention on it. But yeah, I agree.
No, that's a fact. I think that they introduced a couple kids during the remedial thing arc to where they had Shoto and Bakugo take that test over. So they introduced some kids who have like low-key, they have very strong fucking quirks. Like they started manifesting and they're like super strong quirks, and they're not fully sure like as they're growing up, because they know that quirks are becoming stronger. Like these kids' quirks are like kind of like insane. That's why they could like eventually, they were like low-key, I wouldn't say overpowering Todoroki and Bakugo, but they were like, whoa, okay. So definitely those kids could be used. But yeah, that Doomsday quirk theory is still like in the back of my head, and that's one thing that hasn't been really followed up on. I also am interested that they didn't really follow up on any of the romance that was like heavily implied between Deku and, like, they did and then they didn't. So
It's that small hint of Osaka wearing the mask.
That's not enough for me. But I guess
man, that shit was whack. Like I needed a kiss or something.
Like I haven't read Blue Box today, but I'm sure it's crazier than what the fuck happened in this thing. But with that said, I want to thank you guys, of course, for being a part of this. Also, my favorite manga. I'm super excited. Listen, when this anime ends, I don't know. I'm probably going to talk about it all over again, and it probably ends sometime next year as well. But yeah, My Hero Academia. It's one of the big manga and anime stories, kind of like in this revitalization of anime, the popularization of anime, especially in the Western, because I low-key think it's more popular over here than it is over there. Even though people do enjoy it in Japan, I think it's like it caters to a much more Western audience than Eastern audience because of the superhero themes. But it's truly one of the GOATs, in my opinion. It's definitely going to be missed in Weekly Shonen Jump.
Meelz, I have to ask you, now that this has ended and that Attack on Titan has ended, what's next for you?
Good Lord, man. I don't know, man. I'm taking auditions who's supposed to be my fucking favorite anime now. Like, I'd be reading Sakamoto Days and I'd be like, damn. I'll miss something and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore. And then I'll read JJK and it pisses me off because it's doing the same thing over again. Even though this week's chapter was pretty good. Like, it's this week's chapter, they did the damn thing whatever the fuck they did. Chainsaw Man is just too erratic for me right now. So I'm trying to figure this out, man. It's pretty. I'm hoping Horikoshi has a big announcement that'll be out by the time we wake up tomorrow morning. I'm really hoping
sequel coming tomorrow, next Sunday.
Nah, it's gotta be Vigilantes, guys. Come on, man. Let's be honest.
Yeah, the Vigilantes
anime.
Vigilante,
Yeah.
Wasn't that already? That's been
rumored.
Yeah, that's been rumored for a while, right?
I low-key feel like I could be wrong, but I'm also like, why would Horikoshi announce that?
Yeah, no, that would be a studio thing.
Yeah, it would be more of a studio.
Anytime
thing,
a mangaka like announces something, it's either the end of a series, the start of a series, or a break of a series. That's it.
Right. So, I mean, to be fair, I don't know. I guess it wasn't set
Unless he does announce it and then he does like some art with Deku and Koichi together or something like that. That'll be the announcement because they do like to do that sometimes.
Could be. But we'll see what happens. We'll know what happens tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, we're still at Summer Kame House, and we still have one more episode of the One Piece watch. Essentially, we have the post Ennis Lobby arc, which I started watching today, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot all this shit happened," even though I watched it like 3 weeks ago.
Man, listen, I'm at
yeah. You're bugging
no,
out.
hey, listen, I'm at Amazon Lily right now.
I'm happy. My dog. Also, real quick, shout out to Oda because he did some tribute art to Horikoshi for the ending.
Yeah, how sick was that, bro?
Tight. That's super tight.
Yeah,
a young Horikoshi submitted artwork to Oda fucking 20 years ago and then used it. And then now Oda is able to tribute it back. But then also, it's like, I can't believe this series is still going on for a young Horikoshi to submit some shit 20 years ago. I'm glad you got a kick out of this, AD. I hope your fucking series ends and I have to ask you the same question.
Listen, man, I'm playing Boys to Men End of the Road the entire time.
Oh my god! All right, guys. Thank you for
another 5 years. AD, you'll be alright.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Skip, for being our special guest on the episode, man.
You already know, bro. Anytime that I can be of use, now I'm gonna have to start watching animes. I have a reason to come stop by a lot more.
You're not.
He's not
watching
anything.
I know. I'm just like, bro. You haven't started.
Bro,
now.
I watched Blue Lock. I watched Solo Leveling. I watched Kaiju number 8. I'm actually watching anime this year, guys. I just don't talk about it.
Yeah, I know. You say you guys just want to argue with us on the spoilers the whole time. You don't ever be in the. You'll never be in the main lookout.
Look, it's happening, bro. It's happening. Watch.
All right, bro. All right. Listen, got some good stuff coming. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.